Once your mindset change, your life will too. Now, I'll say this because your mindset is everything. Your mindset will literally predict your actions. If you think that you can't do certain things, naturally speaking, on average, you won't do those things. If you don't think that you can go out and work a job to start off your path of, financial freedom, it's going to be hard for you to get a job because you just don't think you can get one. You know, and this can go for a lot of things. This can go for any goal you have. If you want to get a car, you're young, you're coming up, you're almost going to be done with high school, and you envision yourself in the future making a purchase on a car you want. If you don't believe that you can do it, it's gonna take longer, and it's gonna be harder for you to achieve that, because by you having limited thoughts will literally stop you from taking the right actions that you need to take in order for you to progress towards that goal. So without further ado, let's get into the video. That's why this video is titled, Once Your Mindset Changes, Your Life Will Too. But yeah, man, if you're out there, you're struggling with motivation, and you're feeling like life is hard, it's alright, bro. It's okay. The reason why I say it's okay is because time will go by, and as long as you work towards what you want in life, as long as you stay focused on that goal, you'll be fine. Everything will turn out alright. All it takes is time and action, obviously, but this is something that I've learned as well during my ages. During my time coming up out of high school. And the reason why I say this is because when I was still in high school, I knew I was getting ready to graduate, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, but it really didn't become real until the last few weeks of high school. Right before I was getting ready to cross the stage and graduate. That's when it started to become real. Like, damn, I have to figure out something in this life. I have to figure out what I want to do and what I want to become in this life. And honestly, me not figuring out what I want to do in life that late, even though that's not too late, but that's not that bad. It's not really that bad, because there is a set plan or a strategy that you could literally take and pursue while you figure out what you want in life. If you haven't found out what you want to do in life coming out of high school, you can just go find a job, work, save money, and then figure it out during the meantime. So, all this ties into your mindset, because let's say, for instance, you want to become something in a corporate, like you want to work in an office or something, or you want to be a insurance agent or something. It all starts with your mindset. It all starts with you figuring out what you want, then you figuring out what steps to take to get to that goal, and then last but not least is you being consistent. You stand down and you going through with that plan. That's all it takes. You figuring out what you want, you figuring out the steps needed to get that, and then you just going through with the plan. That's all it takes. And this goes for any and every want you have in life. And you will realize, for all the people out there who has goals and that's currently working towards them. Let's say you want to be a teacher, right? So you go to college, or currently right now, I don't know the steps that you need to take in order to be a teacher, but let's say for music, you want to be an artist, a singer. The steps to take in order to become a successful singer is obvious. You just keep singing, you keep working on your craft, you keep practicing, you study more about the industry, you study yourself, see what you're capable of doing, and you just work towards it. And then after a certain amount of time, if you've put in enough work, you'll see some fruits of your labor. I'm not saying that you're going to be Beyonce or J. Cole or any like super 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 successful celebrity, but you'll eventually see success, in whatever you're pursuing. If you grant it enough time and enough work put towards those goals, you'll see fruits of your labor. And this all ties into the title of the video because like your mind is so powerful. Like, and I don't think a lot of people notice this until it's too late. A lot of people realize like, damn, I could have done so much with my time and so much with my life in my early 20s, in my early 30s. And these are people that are thinking these thoughts at the grand age of like 50, late 50s, 60s, probably late 40s, They're thinking, damn, I could have done so much more. I could have done so much more with my time, and could have gotten so much more out of life if I were to use my time wisely. And that's why it all comes down to your mindset. You wanna know why? Because you can have two people. One being one person, they focus on their priorities, they focus on what really matters in life, and they focused on improving their life and getting to where they want at in life. Then you have another person who focuses on short-term gratification and all the distractions, like hanging out with friends, impressing their friends, spending time, indulging in their addictions and all type of things that has nothing to do with bettering yourself as a person and obtaining financial freedom. And you'll see between those two people, one will start living a life eventually of financial freedom. They'll have a car, they'll have a decent crib, whether it be an apartment or a house. They'll be financially stable and free to like do pretty much what they want in life. And then you'll have another person who, since they was focused on a lot of things that were literally just distractions, they will literally not have certain things. And these are the people who, you'll see at the grand age of like probably 30 something, still living with their parents, not knocking them for experiencing that in life because, at the end of the day, none of us asked to be here and life happens how it happens, But, to a certain extent, we all need to hold ourselves accountable to a certain extent. So, yeah. And then you'll just realize, okay, it was all a mindset thing. It was all about what they focused on. Literally, it's all about what you focused on. It's all about your mind. If you focused on doing, the things in life that, if you focus on having fun a lot, you always going to somewhere like, you're always going out with your friends, drinking, smoking, partying, doing things that don't align with your goals, you will never achieve your goals, or it'll be hard for you to achieve your goals, and it would take so much longer than if you would just focus on your goals and being in the right mindset. Like we said before, your mindset predicts your actions. So if you are focused on all the BS in life, you're going to indulge in BS. You're going to do BS. You get what I'm saying? By me focusing, or by you focusing on financial freedom, over time, if you focus on it long enough, you'll begin to learn certain things. You'll begin to learn new skills. You'll begin to practice those skills. You'll then begin, over a certain amount of time, to see the results of practicing those skills. For instance, you take a certain amount of time out your day to learn financial management. Learn how to manage your money, learn how to save your money, correctly. And then you practice it, you take action. And then you set a time. You set a specific time for yourself. You go like a few months, probably 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe even, a whole year of saving. And then you set a goal, you set a specific goal of how much you want to be saved during that month or that year or that time span. And then you work towards that goal consistently. And then over a specific amount of time, you achieve that goal. You see what I'm saying? You see the blueprint I just gave out? That's literally why your mindset predicts your actions, and why your mindset, why, and that's why once your mindset changes, your life will too, because you'll do different things. You as a person will change, and I've noticed for myself, I ain't perfect, but I've definitely changed throughout the years, and I'm only 20 years old, but for the past 2 years, because me and my brother, we've been working since we was like 14, so I can pretty much say I've always had a job, always had some money coming in as a youngin', but as far as having the right skills so that I can do the right things with the resources that I've gained over the years, I haven't, focused on that until recently. The past 2 years, I've recently focused on, things that I need to be focusing on, and that's another thing, like you could literally have the money, you could have the high paying job, you can have it all, but if your mindset isn't right, you're going to lose it all, or you're not going to use it in the best, way you possibly can, like all those years before when I was younger, working, my job, all those paychecks, I could have done so much more with the paycheck because I didn't have any major bills other than my phone bill, so all I really had to do was set a goal of how much I want to save and just keep saving, over a specific amount of time, and I could have had so much more, resources available to me upon graduating, but in my experience, I graduated with like no savings. I had like $0 saved up. In fact, when I graduated, I had lost my job, let's say a month or two before I graduated. So, I really didn't even have any income coming out of high school, and that's so bad. That's so bad. And when I tell you it was a stressful time, it was a stressful time for me. And it honestly took me, changing my mind, changing my thought patterns. It took for me to do certain things and to change who I was for me to get on the right path in life. And that's when I started accomplishing certain goals, because getting a job is easy. A lot of people may say it's hard to get a job nowadays, and I do understand that, but the process of getting a job is pretty easy. You just apply and you do the interview, and then eventually you'll get accepted somewhere. Somewhere they'll accept you if you try long enough. And it did take me around like 6 months to find a job after I graduated. Yeah, that's a pretty decent time. 6 whole months, no income. Yeah, imagine that, bro. It sucks. I have to ask my brother for money plenty of times, man. I'm so grateful that he's a good person, that he really, was able to help me out, But yeah, man, you just always want to keep your mindsets focused on what you want in the future. You always want to be thinking ahead of time. I know a lot of people say stay in the present, but like I said before in one of my previous videos, man, us having the ability to think in the future is a superpower. Use it wisely, because by you thinking in the future, you will literally be able to utilize time management. By me thinking ahead in time, thinking about where I wanted to be at in the future, I was able to plan out certain steps to take, certain actions that I would have to take regularly, and I would do it for a certain amount of time, and within a certain amount of time, my goals would be accomplished. And that's how I accomplished some of the goals that I've accomplished today. As far as getting a car, as far as having a place to stay, my own spot, it all starts with your mindset. That's all I got for today's video, man. Stay positive, stay in a positive mindset. Always think positive thoughts, man. It also starts with that too, because I would have a lot of positive thoughts. I would always think, oh, I'm so grateful for this car, even though I didn't even have a car at the time. And now I have a car. So that thought that I had, I'm so grateful for this car, is literally a reality now, because I have a car, as you can see. And I am grateful for this car, as you see. So, man, do the best you can to keep your mindset in the right space. But yeah, that's all I got for today's video, man. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace out.